Both globally and locally, the future of real estate is something very profound and something very unique. It's something we all must pay, very close attention to. As we know, the world is changing, and Africa and Nigeria cannot be left behind. We also change. What the world is talking about is not just housing, but now the ESG, environmental, social, and governance, must also be incorporated into what we are developing. The world is going green, and also not just building, but we also think of sustainability, sustainable buildings, building up sustainable cities. Across the world, we are already looking at AI smart, environment, estates, and cities. Nigeria needs to catch up. We need developers here in Nigeria. We all need to put heads together to have architects begin to come up with designs that are very, very environmental friendly and also smart, AI compliant as well. So the future here in Nigeria is also very unique. The housing challenge is like not just in Nigeria, it's everywhere. So developers need to bridge that gap by developing, affordable and not just affordable, modern housing types that will enable citizens here in Nigeria to all be beneficiaries of this housing scheme. Policies basically that will enable builders and real estate developers, to participate and engage freely. Also they can regulate, the sector to ensure that, there's a cap to certain land values, a cap to certain land house sales, to also assist, the public. But so far, I know that the government is also doing quite a number of things. Talking about the housing, the National Housing Fund, the FMBN, and all of that. Giving mortgage facilities to eligible applicants. I know that is going on. Recently, I also know that the value has been increased to accommodate the current situation and inflation in the country of how much is being disbursed to developers, for applicants who are interested in buying. So to some extent, to a large extent, the government is trying their best. Like they say, the dividends of democracy is very sure. It only would take a while. So let us brace up and encourage the government as they do what they need to do, and also, advise the government as well on the best, ways to go about alleviating, the challenges of housing in the country.
The convener has a vision that he's trying to push across, which is to maybe add value to what is already happening. There are a lot of events like this happening in the country, across the country, especially in Abuja and Lagos. I think what he's trying to do is to bring in maybe some other areas that some of the other events are unable to cover. What I would say is that he's trying. This is the 4th edition. He's trying. Some that I know, they're almost 20 years. So for me, I think he has tried so far. As long as it's a platform, people will definitely want to make sales and get visibility. But the major thing is the decisions that are taken that are implementable at the end of the day. Let us not say Nigeria is not ripe for smart homes. Even though the infrastructures are not 100% in place right now, but it's one of the best things that can happen to any community. Smart homes, they make life easy. They don't just make life easy, they also add value to our lifestyle. And one of the things they do, they save your money. If you have a smart home, for instance, and you live in a smart home, your energy is saved. Almost everything is saved. Your consumption is saved because a lot of things are digitalized. So even if the infrastructures are not 100% in place, I think we should start with what we have. As we grow, we begin to put other things in place. It's the best thing that can happen to any country. The main problem about housing cost, which is the cost of production, is the raw material, which is the land. The access to land is still a question that needs to be answered in Nigeria. Until it is answered, the problem will be there. So when we talk about affordability, one thing is that affordability is relative. What is affordable to you is different from what is affordable to me. I can buy a house in Metama. You understand? But if you see a house in Metama, it's not affordable to you. So me and my friends, we can buy houses in Metama, so it's affordable to us. But so affordability is relative. But if we want to look at it on a general term, when we are looking at mass housing, then government need to give access to land. Because the value of land, if a developer buys land with a lot of money and is going to sell, is going to build the land, build houses on the land and sell, the end product, the value of the land will affect the end product. So it trickles down to the end product. That's why it will be very difficult for houses to be affordable. in Nigeria until the access to land is addressed. It's a serious issue. The land administration and registration system in Nigeria must be addressed. Government should look at the Land Use Act, which is the framework within which they are working, the Land Use Act of 1978, and send an executive bill to the National Assembly to review it. It must be reviewed. The present template is no longer working. It must be reviewed so that lands are given to only people who need to use the land. And so many other things should be in place. And the fraud too, we will need to introduce blockchain technology into the land administration system. If everything is digitalized, people can no longer have two CFO for one land. These are the problems. So it will reduce litigation. It will reduce unnecessary bureaucracy. You can, if you want to buy a land, you can open your app and check the land from your phone. And you are sure that this land is genuine, you pay. By the time you are going to the office to verify, you are just going there for formality. You have confirmed everything. You are just going to confirm if what you are seeing in your phone is true. That reduces a lot of things. Then you will even search the land is genuine. After paying, you will discover that somebody else has the same CFO you have.
Calling on the youth because it is time for them to take opportunity or take advantage of the opportunity available to them in terms of real estate development. Because in real estate development, especially in this industry, there are so many areas you can tap into. Some of them are developers themselves, some of them are speculative agents, some of them are marketers, some of them are financiers, some of them are even people who go into rent, house flipping. There are a lot of them that people can go into. So at this early stage, you must be able to create a vision for yourself to say, okay, this is the line I want to do. As a person, I went into real estate maybe probably at the age of 34. I went to the real estate at the age of 34, and I know what I've been able to achieve. And today I'm the chairman of FCT. So if I started at 34, it actually means that so many of us can do the same and get to the top. And today I'm able to sit down and come out with policies that tends to shape the real estate industry in Nigeria. I'm an advocate for sustainable and affordable housing. And I must also say that decency is a word that must be used in the housing, because it is not enough to live in any house. The house must also be decent. Once the house is decent, it means you are comfortable. So I have actually been talking to government. Look, why don't you make housing? In fact, the major role that the government has to play is the provision of land. If government makes land accessible to developers and non-developers in different categories, it therefore means that, one, the cost of housing will go down. It also means that many people will be able to access house, because today we have over 20 million housing deficit, which means that over 5 million Nigerians do not have a roof over their head at all. That's what it means. So I am actually advocating for government to make land accessible, to find a way to make it accessible to, if not for anybody, to developers who have the capacity to develop these houses and then transfer it to the final consumer, because you must not die to own a house. Everybody, you have a right to, it's a right, it's not a privilege. To own a house is a right, it's not a privilege. That's why you see other countries providing houses for their citizens. I had come out to the government to say, okay, look, why don't you give land to developers? Instead of developers doing joint venture with developers do joint venture with governments in such a way that the cost of land is taken away, and therefore the price of houses go down. And some of the houses that the developers develop and give to government can now be used as council houses for government workers and those who are entitled to mortgage and all that. Then you can have everybody owning houses. Because if not, because of the fact that we have developers today who are producing over 95% of the houses in FCT, you imagine where everybody will be living today. So the policy is that government should make land accessible to developers and easily accessible. Let me use that word, easily accessible.
I think the topic is very germane, especially in this time of the economy. My own presentation speaks to global best practice as it relates to real estate development and how Nigeria can also adapt to some of those best practices. The world is changing, We've seen how real estate has transformed, real estate and construction has transformed the economies of so many countries. So I was just laying emphasis, giving specific case studies to a few global economies, Singapore, Dubai, Kenya, United States, South Korea, what they've been able to do with mega, giga projects, and to see how Nigeria can copy some of those policies and emulate some of those best practices to bring them home. We cannot do it all. We've seen it the world over. So we always like to lay emphasis on PPP. This is private, public collaboration and partnership. Government coming together with the organized private sector to do infrastructure projects, to do housing estates, to build communities. So that will be one. Number two, even up to the policies. Would like, before policies are even created and implemented, they should bring some of these stakeholders. In the room now, you see several developers. All of them have their various touch points. Some is finance, some is the knowledge, some is professionalism. So before they lay out some of these policies, they can get in touch with stakeholders, have like a stakeholder forum, and know how they can bring everybody's pain points, so that before these policies come out, it will be encompassing and comprehensive. And of course, lastly, they need to have like training sessions such as this. They need to have professional think tanks, train the trainers, so that these developers, they can learn global best practice, bring in developers from Dubai, from Saudi Arabia, from these countries that have gotten it right, to come and put and almost like a hand-holding session with developers from Lagos, Nigeria, Port Harcourt, and across the cities in Nigeria.
A good idea, and I follow every people, every country who develop partnership within Africa, because we need to work together in Africa to make Africa goes up. African president or leaders have to work together to bring Africa to a vision which is unite. Because if every African country goes in his direction, we cannot do nothing. When we are there without knowing where we have to want to go, other people, European, American, try to make us go in their direction. So that is not good. It's beneficial for us to imagine a good way to manage our development, or to do it. We have to have a strategic look. That is important for us. It's for us to define what is good for us or for our people. So what I can say to every African leader, is to work hand to hand in order to make our people be free and be developed.
It's a decision. Nothing has gone global beyond a decision. There's freedom of movement in the world. Every human being born of a woman has the freedom to honor what is inside of him or her, to choose to believe that the world can respect that and honor it, and to package it, brand it enough to serve it in a way that is palatable to everybody in the world. Every human being has the capacity and the potential to take anything from local to global. It's a choice, it's a science, there's a protocol to it, and when we learn it, we do it. Blockchain is a technology. I think that now I know that that's not going to happen except people are intentional to make that happen. But I can tell you that if there's something the government wants to gift the sector with, is with their establishment and acceptance and promotion of blockchain technology. They should keep doing what they're doing. The organizers have done well, they've thought well, they are making decisions, and they've chosen to rally a people around thought leadership. I think it's great. When people know better, they do better. And so when you really want to change society, there's no amount of mobilization or organization that can knock off the necessity of thought leadership. And that's what they have chosen to do. The truth that when people know better, they do better. So we must salute ideas like IRECE, because they've committed to making people better. And the visionary, Mr. Jai Franklin, is right at the spot of that sweet spot, where you recognize that people will grow when they are clear about how to grow. And that is what this conference represents. And as long as they make the resolve to continue to make it happen, the results in the lives of people will bring the gratitude that comforts them about the right path that they have chosen to go. It's altruistic, it's not common that you will invest a part of your resources to be making this kind of, because these things cost a lot of money. To move people like me around the world and move us to a location, it's not cheap. But the commitment is seen and noticeable. And for that, I want to praise the organization for a great work.
The sector is growing. It's actually growing. You cannot deny the fact that it's growing, and but it still requires a whole lot of work in terms from the government and from the investors or this public sector. There's a whole lot of work involved, and that's why we still have the deficit, which is really, really huge, but it's growing. There are quite a number of challenges. Number one is cost of housing and cost of building materials, first and foremost, basically fuels that, because when you have to consider what it costs to build a decent bungalow, now it's scary. Then sometimes you look at the difficulty to acquire land, cost of access to land, Then sometimes some of the policies, like it has over been flogged that the present Land Use Act needs to be reviewed. It's actually also another hurdle that is affecting housing in Nigeria. So these are a couple of things. The list is endless, but these are the top three for me that is really bedeviling housing. The title to documents and the ease to have those titles is something that should be looked at very carefully. And then remember, the land use act says that after 100 years, the government basically can retake the land and all this stuff. There are some of these things that must be looked at so that an investor who is coming to put in his money will be able to do that without any challenge. And so what we would naturally recommend is a look at the ease to getting titles, the ease of accessing those titles, the ease of now making those titles bankable. Now, those are the things in the Land Use Act that has a few hurdles. What you do not invest, you waste. That is the truth. And so with this experience now, where we are beginning to see an influx of funding, especially from foreign direct investments, even within Nigeria, within the real estate space. And this is a time where discipline is expected of the average developer, discipline is expected of the average investor, where you begin to commit your funds and expanding your investment window, so that not just wasting this money, so that these monies can actually produce better results and then help solve the housing deficit. The first reality we must face is that the population is increasing, but the land is not increasing. So there will be more demand for that land. So that means price will actually still go up from time to time. But what happens is that in developed countries, what happens is that there's always this need to control to an extent. There has to be some level of control, price control, so that it doesn't go off the roof, so that the average man should be able to afford, based on his little earning, afford some decent housing. He might not necessarily stay in the city center, but at least wherever he lives, it should be comfortable. And so I think during the days of Senator Smart Adeyemi, he tried to push a bill to control rent and all that. If that bill has succeeded, I don't think the problem we're in now, because it was supposed to last for review every 5 years or something like that. That problem we're in now wouldn't have happened if that bill had succeeded. So I actually recommend some control, because the truth is that there has to be some balance. As much as an investor is building houses and putting on rent or putting it out there, also the people who will actually be staying, you must not strangulate them to the point where it becomes scary. Now the word landlord gives people nightmares, and even when you work hard and you earn your salary, it still gives you nightmares. That means what you are taking at the end of the day is not measuring up.